Hey, this is Tobias, and I'm here to talk about continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment. What do they all mean, and what's the difference between them anyway? Here's the deal. Software engineering teams keep their source code on a central server. The most up-to-date version of this code is usually called trunk, or sometimes main, mainline, develop, or master. When an engineer wants to fix a bug or add a feature, they take a copy of this code and make their changes. Then they merge their changes back into trunk. If you have more than one engineer, and it takes a long time to finish each feature, every engineer ends up with a separate version of the code on their machine. They make conflicting changes, and integrating everything back together is a mess. This is where continuous integration comes in. If engineers make their changes in small increments and constantly merge their code back into trunk, there are fewer conflicts, it's easy to understand what's going on, and you get fewer defects. Now, two things on this. First, how often do you have to merge your changes to make it continuous integration? The industry benchmark for this is at least once a day. More frequently is better, but any less than once a day and it's not really continuous. Second, how do you know the application still works after you've merged your changes? Well, if you have a team of 5 engineers, you can't have someone manually testing 5 or 10 new versions of your application every day. So, you have to automate. And the way you do this is that you build the application and run it through an automated test suite every single time someone merges a change. If you don't have automated builds and automated testing, you have no idea if your stuff works and you're not really integrating. So, continuous integration means all engineers merge their changes into trunk at least daily, and you have fully automated tooling to build and test your application every time they do. Onwards to continuous delivery. This builds on top of continuous integration and adds one more requirement. To do continuous delivery, you need a fully automated method to deploy your application to production. So at any point, you can press a button and your application gets automatically deployed to all your customer-facing environments. You may only do this once a week, or once a month, or once a quarter, but whenever the business says so, you can deploy the latest version of your application to production immediately in a fully automated fashion. Now, this is about as far as most engineering teams go. Continuous delivery is a great improvement over traditional release processes. It creates consistency through automation and lowers the risk of mistakes. But it's still not perfect. If you only press that button to deploy every couple of weeks, you're still shipping a lot of code changes to production in each deployment. And if you have a large engineering team, those bi-weekly deployments could each contain hundreds or even thousands of separate code changes. That's what we in the business refer to as a Big Bang release. This is where continuous deployment comes in. Continuous deployment builds on the automation from continuous delivery, but the difference is that every single time a code change passes all test cases, it gets immediately and automatically deployed to production. That means you're deploying to production several times a day, maybe dozens or even hundreds of times a day. And for engineers, this is a big deal. One obvious benefit of continuous deployment is that it reduces deployment risk. Every deployment has just a single tiny code change that's been automatically tested, so it's unlikely to break anything. And if it does, you don't have to spend hours tracking down the problem because you already know exactly what changed. But more importantly, continuous deployment reduces the time to create value for your customers. An engineer can build a feature in the morning, deploy it to production at lunchtime, and have customers use it in the afternoon. This is huge because not only can you get features and bug fixes to customers quickly, but you also get immediate feedback. Within hours or even minutes of making a change, you'll know if it works as intended or if you need to fine-tune the experience. It's super fun for engineers to work in a continuous deployment environment because they can see how they're having a positive impact on people's lives every day. If you're trying to hire the smartest software engineers out there, know that this will be a key selling point for them. But this style of working has also been scientifically linked to better business outcomes. Organizations that use continuous deployment actually make more money. Don't take my word for it, go read this excellent book or one of the annual State of DevOps reports. So to wrap up, Continuous integration means that engineers integrate their code changes at least daily, and you have automated testing to make sure everything still works. Continuous delivery means you have continuous integration plus a fully automated mechanism to deploy to production when needed. You may be doing deployments on a regular cadence, like every other week, or just on demand when the business asks for it. Continuous deployment means you have continuous delivery, and you immediately and automatically deploy every single code change to production. Now, if you don't do any of these things today, don't despair. It doesn't take a lot of effort to introduce continuous integration, and you'll start to see benefits right away. But if you want to really transform the culture, performance, and engagement of your engineering team, you should set your sights on continuous deployment.